right, this should be fun. So, to give you some background, this talk came about because July 25th of this year, the United Kingdom instituted something called age verification from a regulator called Ofcom. And myself and Paula Popovici were invited to do a live demonstration on Sky News to bypass all of the age verification and biometric system. We did so within seconds without using a VPN. And it brought up some other very uncomfortable conversations because whilst we were preparing, we found some very uncomfortable things. So, if you don't know me, I am a very curious, mostly ethical hacker. I was supposed to be the U.S.'s top expert in generative AI and cyberwarfare until I got fired by Trump this year. I deal a lot with cyberwarfare. So I was the person that Saudi Aramco called up, Lady Chris, when Iran basically tried to wipe out Saudi Aramco and part of the oil market in 2012 and headed the Information Protection Group as well as the Intel arm. And I hack land, space, sea, and air. I'm a former aviator and former Space Command, now called Space Force. Great series on Netflix. All right. And I deal a lot with geopolitics. I actually prefer that over some of the things that I'm going to show you today because it's a bit dark. And I thought, hey, nothing's crazier than nation state crazy. Oh, hell, no. So what we're finding is with rapidly shifting geopolitics, we're seeing different types of groups starting to target our younger people, from teens and young adults. And unfortunately, it's starting to get very, very uncomfortable. And when we're talking about some of these groups, we're talking about extremely well-funded stuff. Like when it comes to, for example, child pornography, it's a almost €1 trillion a year business. That's the estimates. Fun, disgusting fact, many of us believe that there is now more generated AI child porn than actual child porn out there. Fantastic, right? No. So, whilst we were looking around and building some research, how many of you think that marketing tools are already creepy enough? Raise your hand, right? They know more about you than any creepy, spooky spy agency. Fantastic. Well, what we found, we call it Yellow Bus, is basically a predator toolkit. So flipping it around, weaponizing marketing tools specifically to start profiling teens and young adults, trying to profile if they have ADHD, if they're vulnerable in some other way, autism, etc., depressed, you name it. And then they resell that just like a data broker. And it could be to child predators, it could be to a nation state, or it could be to a cybercrime syndicate, because also cybercrime syndicates, well, they like to recruit teens and young adults now. And we found that they also weaponize some of the code. And what they do is they flip on your camera, your microphone, all this kind of stuff, so that once a teen or young person visits one of these sites with this particular predator toolkit, then if the predator or whomever want that kid or their talents, etc., then they already have images. Now, currently, the leading cause of death of teenage boys in the UK is suicide. And most of those cases, they're now tying to sextortion. So it's very, very problematic because once they have control of your laptop, it is absolutely a camera in anyone's bedroom. So the UK Age Verification Act is really more focused on trying to halt sexual grooming, which is a very, very bad thing. However, doing some of this research, I found there's actually a series of different competing grooming sites that actually compete with different technology. It is so profitable that there's competition amongst the teen grooming sites. And one thing to think about is we're talking about money, because it's always some sort of money. We're also seeing that some of the Russian oligarchs have been shifting some of their monetary flows, getting around sanctions and going this way into different types of grooming. And one of the reasons why the UK came out with this age verification, and it's a shame that they don't talk about it in public, but the reason being is there have been several, we'll call them cults online. One of them happens to be called Spawnism on Roblox. And in that particular game, there's a separate game, and the idea is that you can respawn. Now, this is going to get even darker. So in Spawnism, what they do is they look for handicapped children and they get them to carve certain things here, here, or here. And then eventually, once they have this carved symbol, then they try to get these handicapped children to kill themselves because they start telling them that they can respawn. Yeah. So I really wish the UK would talk a bit more about the reasons behind it. Also, if you know any child therapists, I've already done up a few papers for a variety of child therapists around the Netherlands. So they're already on alert for what to look for some of the self-harm and some of the cults that are going around. Now, I am trying to stay as legal as possible without encouraging any sort of showing some of the grooming stuff. But this is one of the competing chat systems that are online. So once you get on there, you will quickly find you can put in whatever age. It says, oh, it's so secure, it's perfect for teens, all this kind of stuff. You can put in whatever age. Instantly, you can be exposed to sexual predators. There are some that even openly try to buy children, sell children, all sorts of very bad things. And again, this is just one of the competing platforms because it happens to be so profitable. Then, of course, for the text, this is actually some of the network of one in particular that we're looking at and that I was looking at because it's particularly dangerous, this one. And it's a primary one. With this, again, the profiling is resold. And it isn't just for gross sexy time stuff with kids, it's also for cybercrime grooming. Now, I'm not sure if any of you have heard of a particular group called Scattered Spider. Scattered Spider hit Land Rover, Jaguar, the Co-op group in the UK. I was just there the day before yesterday in Manchester, had to remember. From the Co-op, which is an organization, they've got grocery stores and so forth, they put a lot of money back into the community. Sounds great. They got taken for 225 million quid, British pound, by Scattered Spider. Now, in Scattered Spider, the people that were arrested, there were 4 individuals. 3 were male, 1 were female. The oldest person was a 23-year-old woman. The rest were teens or around that age range. And background was that these young folks, like many of you in this audience, were already groomed when they were starting out at about 14, 15 into cybercrime. So, 20-year-old. Now, with this, there is a particular cartel in the background, and this particular cartel is affiliated with a particular APT group that funds some of the Russian oligarchs, amongst others. And their goals are to take over the ransomware cartel, or create a ransomware cartel. And so they're also related, and what they do is they target teens specifically because it allows plausible deniability. So if you're a crime lord and you have a teen that can do your bidding, firstly, if they get caught, you have separation. Secondly, teens or younger people, well, their witness testimony does not have as much weight. And if they go to jail, they're not going to go to prison for very long because they're underage. So it's a win-win. Now, with this, we're also seeing that the same information is again being resold now to nation states, amongst others. And now it starts to drift into physical sabotage. We're getting reports that, anybody heard of drones shutting down airports? Right? You know? So what we'll say some nation states most likely are doing are shipping, we'll say, little drones just to aggravate our airspace. The reason why is right now Russia, they keep having to shut down their airspace and also their internet in large areas of Russia. There are some areas of Russia that have not had internet for about 2 to 3 months. And the Russian government calls it Operation Carpet when they have to shut down things, especially flights between Kaliningrad and mainland Russia because of the drones. And they're losing a ton of money and to their economy because the internet's being shut down and air travel is being shut down. So now they're bringing the pain to us. And why not include our kids? We've also had situations where different types of humanitarian or military shipments have been physically torched. An airplane, a DHL cargo airplane. And so it's moving from trying to aggravate our airspaces, physical sabotage, in some parts of Eastern Europe, kids, especially in area of the autonomous region of Gagauzia in Moldova, they go ahead and pay kids maybe €20 a month, maybe 50 if they're really good, to spread loads of disinformation. So that's fun. And then we have one of the reasons why Sweden and Denmark are so much behind EU chat control. So what's happening is they're using young, blonde, Swedish girls to mix chemicals, to blow up buildings, and to kill people. And the gangs are using them, again, because it's much easier, firstly, to use a juvenile, and secondly, the police are not as likely to stop a Swedish blonde girl versus someone whose name is Ahmed. So they've had hundreds of violent crimes. They're now looking at changing their laws so that they can actually prosecute some of these teens. So that's a problem. Then there's even been more Dutch teens who have been arrested now. In this particular case, the kids were, both of them are most likely neurodivergent. One was described by his father as, he's not really into the outside world, likes to stay in the bedroom. And then suddenly their house got raided with the Dutch National Terrorism Police, and both teens are charged with espionage. So that's not nice. So when we were looking at this digital predator toolkit and some of the websites associated with it, one of the things that it does is it pulls you without you wanting to into another series of websites that then criminalizes your web browsing, because suddenly you are exposed to child sexual abuse material, sexual exploitation, et cetera, terrorism all the way down. So if you wanted to report, you've actually criminalized your own behavior. And that's also one of the dangers with some of the laws where they don't quite understand or keep up. And it's a bit of malware that pulls you in. You have no control. Now, I do want to add that the website in particular that we found is the one that we found. How should I put it? There's no audio. There is some boobs, but not naked boobs. So as you notice, it's, sorry about that, teenchatrooms.co.uk. Now, anywhere that you click on here besides the About Us will take you into different types of content, and we'll also try to plant malware onto your system that will then go ahead and turn on your camera, your microphone, etc. And it's a bit problematic because, hey, that means that now they have loads of information about your computer. Now, with these wonderful new regulations that Ofcom in the UK put in place, I read all 460 pages because I'm like that. And with it, the UK government, Ofcom in particular, expects you to go, hey, Predator website, I notice you have illegal content. So I am reporting to you to fix it. So Ofcom expects you to engage with criminals first before they'll come into play. Now, it's very interesting that they were trying to find 4chan, which is a website that is based in the United States. But here is one teen chat room or what have you, .co.uk. It has been known, and Ofcom won't do a thing. And as an added bonus, the way that I got that website was through most likely a poisoned large language model. What's been happening is various criminal groups, if you put enough fake information in, you're going to get this type of stuff out. So I got a whole list of websites from ChatGPT that was filled with child pornography. So someone had already poisoned ChatGPT for it to return these particular pages. And that's not very nice. We've seen that also in geopolitics, where some of the large language models are now changing the narrative as to who started the war in Ukraine. Great stuff. Buy printed books. Because, woo! So it's very problematic. Sorry for the boobage. So one thing that you have to understand is there is so much money involved in this versus governments who apparently don't know much about technology. Now, when Ofcom make their regulations, I looked at the groups that, the experts that were supposed to help them, and none of them were any of us in this room. So there were a couple of academics, more on human rights, and then they had a whole load of vendors which are associated with the age verification system as their experts to write this. And we see how badly that's working. Now, another thing to understand is some of these groups are absolutely government supported. Obviously not here in Austria, but in other places. And how many of you are aware that there are approximately 30,000 slaves on the border of Myanmar and Thailand? A few. I call them cyber slaves. And, well, they are connected by Starlink in Myanmar. Funny that. Myanmar is so heavily sanctioned. Fun tip. If you want to watch YouTube for free, as in no commercials, flip your VPN on for Myanmar. Because even Google won't try to monetize anything from Myanmar, yet they have loads of Starlink. Now, there was a case earlier this year where I would say like a B level actor from China. And he's like, hey, there's a casting call. Let me answer it. Flies to Thailand. He gets picked up in a nice car. Guess what? He's been kidnapped. They take him over the border into Myanmar. Almost beat him to death. And so they do a lot of pig butchering scams, but they also are involved in this. Now, if you're being sanctioned, well, you got to start shifting where you get your money. So some of it has definitely been shifting into this realm and different areas. And unfortunately, just because I don't like the Russian government, Russian people, fine. But they are not the only ones who are grooming and basically turning some of our kids into child soldiers. But a lot of this stuff, the kids, the teens, the young adults, they get blackmailed. And it starts from this digital predator toolkit. So, one of the things I want to stress, I know I don't even like discussing this, but if you have kids, if you have brothers, sisters, whatever, cousins, nephews, nieces, whatever, start creating a safe place, because it won't always be the kid, the young teen, the young adult going to their parents, because there could be sextortion involved. All right, so that's more of an uncomfortable situation. So uncles and aunties, etc., you may have to create that safe place. Take a look at the apps. There are ways that you can hide various apps. I think most of us know that, right? You can do hide apps. But one of the biggest vectors seems to be Telegram. So unfortunately, I would highly suggest that you remove Telegram from their phone or from their laptops. If you have younger kids, try to set age restrictions. Try to give them a reward if they see something. But unfortunately, the way that the current regulations in the UK, at least, are, they leave it up to you to directly engage with criminals. So I don't really like that. And I can tell you, if the age verification system from the UK is so easy to bypass, also the client side, they trust client side. Why would you trust client side? I have no idea. Whatever laws when it comes to the new version of EU chat control that Denmark's trying to get in via a backdoor, it's not going to work because, well, much of this policy, it is not technologically implementable. We in this room have to get involved. We understand encryption. We understand, don't do it on client side. We understand certain things. We also know how to break things. And we have that mind where we can absolutely advise on different types of workarounds and to test and try to break it. So I would highly suggest those in this room to start also conversations with legislators, different types of rights groups and digital rights groups to try to pressure to go, hey, man, yo, this is not working. You need to include the technologists. So I wanted to leave plenty of room for questions and give a big shout out to DeepSec and Deep Intel because I almost didn't make it, and to Renee and Suzanne. And you can find me a lot on social media. Of course, I just came out with some books because I like to hack things. And that's for me. Thank you very much. And I should have time for questions.
Do we have questions?
Come on, questions.
Nobody? I think you are available during coffee breaks. Or
yes.
So if you rather do the questions in privacy, not in this room. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, he's got a question.
I got a question.
He has a question. Yay!
Okay. Thank you for the talk. It's really heart-touching, especially when I have young kids or an adult, teenagers, sorry. You had a slide how to create a safe place. Can you give us some real, hands-on advices or to a parent who's got kids like that, what to do besides talking to them, explaining to them, besides having the screen time and stuff like that? Is there anything in what you experience would help better?
Yeah, so we had done some research in the UK trying to get information about that with kids and parents. I don't know, there were about 50 kids, plus the parents. And what we found was a reward structure once a week seemed to be pretty successful. Hey, how you doing? Here's some reward. Now let's, talk about this. It could be at the dinner. It could be a special dessert. It could be taking them out to the movies, but some sort of reward associated with it so that it's positive when you start talking about, so did you see anything online? What's the latest thing that you're looking at? And you start opening that conversation while you are creating a reward for them. It's almost like, what is it, Pavlov's dog, right? Hey, I have to train myself to do certain things, right? But that seemed to be very helpful. Another thing which I would like to stress, kids are also exposed to this stuff on school computers. Yet, I have yet to go to a school where they have any sort of conversation with the kids on any of this, or a reporting mechanism. So we have a reporting mechanism for, somebody gross touching, but what if somebody's trying to gross touch through the laptop? And those conversations are not occurring in schools. And we have to, because most likely there's going to be liability on the school side, because they are, of course, exposing using school computers with wraparounds, because the predators try to make it very easy to bypass different types of things and controls. So schools are a primary area. And I would also suggest having a conversation with your school administrators as to what they are doing inside that school.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.